Yo, what's happening, world? My name's Raheem Flowers. And honestly, I'm in a pretty decent mood today. I've actually been having dialogues with the individual, just speaking about the whole notion of white supremacy and the end-all be-all of evil. That's really what I want to talk about. You see, one thing I've noticed is we as people, as mankind as a whole, we tend to romanticize on human nature. We try to put this veil on what we deem as being the true evils and the ills of the world. Many people say money's the root of all evil, one of the most popular ones. In this day and age, because of all this racial tension, people say white supremacy. Then you have others who talk about the Illuminati, Zionism, Freemasons, feminism, etc. And honestly, it's like the way a lot of people make it seem like as if these entities just were eradicated, we live in world peace, like some utopia would just come about, when that's not true. And I deal with a lot of these pro-blacks, or so-called pro-blacks and conscious brothers and sisters, and they've been trying to talk to me about how it's white supremacy that is depriving black people of success and just collective prosperity, when really it's more of a competitive problem that we have rather than just a racial problem. Now, don't get me wrong, what occurred in the transatlantic slave trade did put an extra blockade for blacks. It made it harder, but that doesn't mean that a black person cannot prosper. I mean, I even look at it back in the day. Think about it, in the early 1900s, you had the Negro Leagues, you had black-owned businesses, and even during the 1950s or the Jim Crow era, in Harlem, New York, there was the Harlem Renaissance. This appeased to what we called white America, and in essence, it started to appeal to the world. People started to put their own mixtures and all that in, but at the end of the day, you would have to credit the black man for that. Now, I don't like the idea of people putting a face on evil, because by doing that, it allows you to become comfortably miserable, and you start to lose the will to not only survive and live, but to thrive and prosper. So I would never try to embed this notion in other individuals that you can't be on top, like Chris Gardner, like Tristan Walker, like Michael Jordan, like Jay-Z, like Puff Daddy Sean Combs, or even look at George Washington Carver. He lived in a time that was more genuine, like where racism was more overt than it is now. When people sit here and talk about how the Illuminati is fucking up hip-hop, no, I'm gonna tell you what's fucked up hip-hop. It's the fact that people did not want to just be more patient and build themselves up eventually, because at one point that's what was going on. But you know, we sold out to these record executives and trying to get a quicker buck, so the music started to get diluted. But you notice one thing, when black people do them, we thrive and prosper, and society knows this, but it's too bad that black people don't. Rather than looking for acceptance, we should have been looking for equity, but that doesn't happen anymore because we're so concerned about integrating with other people, and not even economically, like just socially. Because if we would just continue to thrive and prosper, it would just, by default, people would start to want to integrate. People will start wanting to unify and do business with each other. But that's a problem though, when you lose sight of that. That's why I think Martin Luther King is, to a degree, a detriment. And I find it funny because this is the same man who subscribed to Mahatma Gandhi's philosophies. Anybody who knows history knows that Mahatma Gandhi fled to South Africa and was busy shitting on blacks and calling them kafirs and saying that they were beneath livestock, animals. See, we got our priorities backwards. There isn't enough critical thinking, and there isn't enough incentive to want to create productivity. There's just too much approval seeking and begging. But, you know, I think there are people who are going to rise above that circumstance and not use these entities as a leverage to be comfortably miserable. Can't go on like this. Nope. I mean, think about it this way. If we look at history objectively, nobody was free from some form of persecution and slavery. Think about what the Turks or the Ottoman Empire did with the Greeks. Think about what Soviet Russia was doing when they enslaved the Ukrainians. Think about what Genghis Khan was doing to the Slavics, i.e. the Eastern Europeans. Think about how the Arab slave trade came about and they have genocides like the Janjaweed. Think about how the African slave trade came about and you had these African kings who sold African slaves to white people. White people didn't, I don't think white people even had enough geographical knowledge to be able to infiltrate those countries in Africa, or more so West Africa, to be able to do all that. Somebody had to give them some form of intel, so there was an enemy within, so to speak. I mean, you could even look at it like this as well. When people yearn for power, you usually have to cut off the weakest links. This is what the Jews did when they were helping Hitler fund Nazi Germany and his Holocaust movement. If we as black people want to prosper, we need to cut ourselves off from the Negro archetype. For real, do it unapologetically, as I've stated before. Because when we try to empathize and sympathize with them when some debacle goes down, and we even get engaged when we use their lingos, or when we get mad, we have a little bit of quote-unquote ratchetness and ghetto-ness in us. We begin to identify with them. That's what needs to be understood. We can't say that we're not like this, but then we try to be so understanding of them, when have they ever tried to be understanding of you? And I don't hate quote-unquote people who are from the hood. My best friend, who's like a brother to me, is from Cabrini Green of Chicago. I've been to a school with people who are from the hood. I've been in that atmosphere, I've been in that environment, I've worked with them. So, for the most part, I understand the psyche of them. But the majority of them are beyond repair. Let's just call it what it is. And by trying to put this veil known as white supremacy or Zionism or the Illuminati, trying to put these conspiracies up is only gonna make it okay for them to continue to act rambunctious. Now, I'm not saying that the government isn't fucked up. Yeah, of course the government's fucked up, because people are so desperate to maintain power that they'll do something to fuck you over They're going to make sure that you are their sacrifice. You're their sacrificial lamb. You're their token. So their sons and daughters can eat. So they can still eat fat, eat good, eat steak, eat off of some marble table. So that's what it all comes down to. People wanting to live comfortably and doing it at your expense. True power comes to those who have the motivation and the will to live. True power comes to those who will do anything to get it. Honestly, money is simply a reflection of one's value system. How much one conserves. What is one willing to do to attain the valuables? And what the spending habits of it. So, and people say that money is power, or money is a huge branch of it. Well, I think it's time for blacks to really start to reconsider and get some financial aid. Not financial aid, but financial advisors. Maybe I'll hit up Dr. Boyce Watkins looking at us, but yeah, you get my point.